So we're going to take a normal kick loop and we're going to turn that into a melodic sample that gives the kick loop a bit of groove. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to select a kick sample. You can actually see the wave here. So some of the kick samples have very, very simplistic waves, and some of them have, like that, more complex sounds. So I'm just going to go through until I hear the sound that I like, and I'm going to use that as the basis for this groove. This one here will do. So we're going to set up a 4/4 groove like this, and we're going to just press Ctrl D to duplicate the kick there. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in a wavetable. So we're going to use the kick sample as the sound source for what's in wavetable. And when you do that and you scroll through all of the waves on the kick sample, and then you can hear all of the possible melodic choices that you have, and they're all going to be in the same key as that kick. So let's just take a quick listen. So you keep going through each wave position until you find the one that you like, and I happen to like that one. I'm going to go into my modulation sources so we can now change the amplitude of that sound source. So let's just, for example, reduce the decay. We can increase the attack or decrease it. In this case, we're going to just keep it fairly high. And then we've got two envelopes, envelope 2 and 3. Envelopes are just the shape of the sound source of any type of modulation you want. So we're going to just keep these the same, but we're going to move envelope 2 so we've got a sharp attack and a lower decay like that. And then we're going to go into the mod matrix. So we have, as you can see here in this column, we've got envelope 2, but we want to do a mod matrix on this frequency. So let's just move this starting position fairly low, round about there. And you can see as soon as you click on the frequency there is a new row called frequency. So we're just going to add some value there. We'll add, just to start with, 100. Now let's see how that sounds. So that's pretty cool. We can even reduce it a little bit more. And if we want, we have two options here. So we even have a second option in terms of frequency modulation, but it gets a bit more complicated if we do that. So I'm not going to have that on. We'll switch that off. So I'm going to reduce this by half to 50. So in the mod sources, we also have LFO1 and LFO2. So for example, LFO1 looks like that, LFO2 looks like that. And we can just do things like change the shape of the LFO to a square, for example, or we can click on here and just drag this out so we can change the speed of the LFO. And let's just change this back to a sine wave. Actually, let's increase this to 80. Reduce that pitch so it's not so much. Now we're going to add the sub button here. So we just got a bit of sub bass coming through. And now let's add some unison here. So we'll just go for the classic unison. We can now just transpose that down to 12, so we've got a deeper sub bass. So remember, this is all in the same key as the kick. So let's just record. We can add a bit of glide here. And now we can also go in and add some saturation. We can use any of these presets, which I like this one here called Warm Up Lows. So let's just bring in a shaper just like that. And we'll also bring in a utility. So we're going to just change the shape of that shaper. So the default was the wrong way around. And then we're going to map the shaper to the gain of the utility. And that's just way too much. So we're just going to move that to 50%. And we're going to just start it a little bit higher as well. Okay, so once we've got all of that set up, we can just literally copy the wavetable like that. So in this wavetable here, we're going to make some changes to how it sounds, so we can just listen to it again, but we can just go through the wavetable and just change and select a different frequency. And we'll switch, we just bring that transpose back to 0 like that. And now let's duplicate that again. and we'll just change and select a different frequency, and we're going to go into this MIDI now and just change the position of the MIDI as well. So all I've done is I've selected all of the notes and I've just moved them around. Okay, so now let's bring in a top loop like this one. So I'm just going to make another duplicate wavetable here, and on this one here I'm going to take all of the sub bass off completely. This one here, starting position a bit higher, so we've got a bit more body in the loop. But we still have that LFO on the pitch, which gives it that warmth. Okay, so we are going to record that. So now that we've got that looping like that, we can go ahead and start adding other elements, like, for example, increased resonance.